Hey guys, welcome to Backwoods Brothers again. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties to the point. Well, we had people watching before, and then we had to shut it down, and we started back up.
But you know what? I would say first is worst, second is best. I'm Tony. I'm so glad to be here with my bestie. I want to get to give you this again and act like you're surprised, okay? I decided to give you a bottle of squirt.
They saw it already.
Oh, well, you
They saw
can
it already. Yeah.
It's a gift that keeps on giving. You just roll with it. And grape soda, so
I'm so surprised. I didn't know this was coming. Thank you.
It cost me nothing. It cost me nothing extra. So you were talking about being kind of. I don't want to steal your story. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that threw me off, and we the funny thing is we do all these checks ahead of time too.
Right.
Like we do a check at 30 minutes, we do a check at 5 minutes.
Yes.
And it seems like the world always falls 3 minutes after we start.
Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law. You can do all the checks you want, but there's always something, right?
Yes. Keeps you on your toes.
And we have a great audio video guy. He really
awesome.
He works hard at it. And,
yes, he does.
And so
he has quite the talent too.
Oh yeah.
With the new promo coming up.
Oh, don't spoil it.
Oh, again. Oh, spoiler alert. Never mind.
Spoiling. You can't promo the promo.
Dang it. But does he get royalties for this?
No.
Okay. Anyways.
He just gets a little love here and there.
Well, and they used to be friends. Like today, Joel sent me a 20-year-old picture of them. I tell you what, they look like kids.
We were kids.
How old were you?
We were in our teens, I think, weren't we?
Yeah. He's coughing in the background. He even came to work sick today.
Yeah, he came out. He's here working sick. Dedicated, guys.
But you know what? Speaking of dedication, coming to work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, I'm just kind of curious. So if you didn't show up to your job,
right,
and I didn't show up to my job,
right,
are you gonna like get someone that drags you into work and says, "Boom, hey, you gotta do your job"?
You know what? You and I are kind of blessed to not have that oversight because I own my own business and you practically run your own business from home, so you don't have that oversight. But, you know,
well, honestly,
check the
here's the thing is, I think when you swear an oath, and you
don't swear, by the way.
When you swear an oath and when you are elected by the people and you make a promise to those people, and then you step out and doing that job just because it's not going to go your way, I don't care if you're what side of the house you're on. If you don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, if you don't show up to do that job when you've been selected by the people and you swore you would be there, damn well straight I agree with what the governor did, and to go out and arrest when they get back in to arrest them, drag their butt into that meeting and make them do their jobs.
So what are you talking about?
Well, the Texas governor has said, and there's laws in Texas. I don't think it's in any other state right now, but there's laws in Texas that allow the House to actually have lawmakers who don't show up to do their job arrested and drug into the House to make them and lock them down there. They can't leave until they get their job done.
I'm curious, what are the charges?
There's no, it's not charges. It's just
they're just arrested.
No, the charge is not following the law. The law is a law that actually says that if you don't show up to do your job, as a lawmaker, that they can pull you in to do your job.
Wow. And you're saying in Texas or
in Texas only?
Oh, in Texas
I haven't found anything else anywhere else in my research yet. There might be other laws on there I don't know about, but they don't deal with the whole walkout because I don't get my way thing. And I don't care if it's Republicans or Democrats.
You get hired to do a job.
You not just hired to do your job. You get elected. You make a promise to the people. You better show up and do it.
True.
So I think I don't. Not that I'm saying that we should make laws everywhere about that down to the city level. But hey, if we did, who cares? Like as a city councilor, I better show up to do my job every single day I can. Short of being sick or having a family emergency, I better show up to do my job. Because if people have put their trust and their faith in me to be there. They elected me to be there, so I should do the job.
But that's
paid or unpaid.
That's the difference between maybe you and them. You have this thing called loyalty, and so when you commit to do something, you come through on your commitment, no matter if it goes your way or not.
Exactly. I'm there to represent the people, and everybody that's there, they're either paid or unpaid. They've stepped out and they've taken a vote because their job and their oath that they've taken is to the people that they represent.
Honoring their oath.
Yeah, and they must to honor their oath. I think it's great. I think that every state should put that in place. And I don't care if the Democrats were the ones in power and the Republicans are walking out. Drag their butt back there. It's going to suck because it means you're going to lose stuff. And I think it's a tactic they use when they don't have the majority to try to make it so you don't have a quorum. Quorum is what is a minimum amount required in order to have a legal vote. And so when they don't have that quorum, they can't actually pass any laws or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
it's a passive aggressive. Well, it's actually aggressive.
It's a defensive tool.
Yeah,
and
to walk out of something.
I get the argument of both sides. Like, oh man, they're the majority; they can pass whatever they want.
Yeah.
But it's not fair to the people either way for you to not show up and do your job.
Absolutely.
If it sucks, if the people have a problem with what's getting passed in the House, you know what you do to fix that? You elect the people that are going to pass the things you want. So that's what it is. The people have the power to make the elections go the way they want by choosing what they want and then holding those elections accountable. So,
what do you do when you feel that elections are not actual true elections?
If you feel like there's a rigged election, hold it accountable. We demand your representatives do the audits. It's like they're doing in a lot of the states right now. They're finding problems with elections, whether it's local stuff or whether it's national, whatever it is. And I'm not saying, because there's not enough information out there solid yet, that there was a massive conspiracy and that Trump lost.
You're talking
or whatever.
about the elections.
They have found a lot of problems in the elections, and they have found some fraud. But it's not large enough to overturn the election at this time. So, but they are fixing. They're making new laws and they're fixing the issues that they're finding there as they do those audits. So, if you don't think your election's properly done, then challenge it. Like, require your representatives are there for you to challenge that election and have them do the investigation and show that it's legit or not, or fix the problems. So,
do you think it's a case of monkey see, monkey do? The walkouts have been a trending thing from Washington down to Texas.
Yes, and there's times I'm like, oh, that's a great tactic, but the more as I got into it and I started realizing my job was a public servant and went out as a counselor and stuff.
Firsthand.
It's my job to show up to be there, whether I'm going to win or lose, whatever I'm trying to fight for.
Yeah.
It's my job to show up. And it's my job to fight like hell for that, too.
Yeah.
And if that means I got to do a lot of work ahead of time to try to get that in place and to convince the other counselors that are there or the other representatives, or if I was a senator or something like that, trying to do that, not saying I want to, it's not my ambitions at all.
Right.
But if I was in that type of arena, it would be my job to provide the evidence to try to sway the other representatives to the point I'm bringing. And so instead of just going, can't do it and walk out, no, it's do your job the best you can. And if you show up to do the job and you've done everything you possibly can, it doesn't go your way, well, then, they're going to be accountable to the people when whatever they're doing doesn't work. Or if maybe it will work. I don't know. It's hard to say. Every situation is different. So,
well, one, if you walk out on a opposition, you've lost the argument anyway. You're no longer present.
You're no longer there to make the argument, and you're going to have to come back eventually, and it's still going to happen. All it does is makes you look like you're throwing a fit.
Really?
So, like I said, that again, I want to be very clear. That goes for both sides.
It goes for both sides. It's bipartisan.
Do the job. Show that you have the stronger point. Argue it, and even if you argue the stronger point and everything, and you come out in the end, then those people still have to vote for what they believe, and they might be held accountable to that vote one day because you're going to hold them and you're going to put all your points out there. And then the constituents that are watching are going to see that. And if they believe that you had the best argument, but it still went the other way, they're going to be accountable to those constituents, whether that's immediately or whether they at the next election, those constituents might be reminded of, hey, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted that this particular candidate, this particular counselor or representative was arguing for. But these guys didn't. I don't want them back in there. I'm going to put the people in there that are going to argue what I want, and vice versa. It can go either way.
I think the reason why this story is developing and so something that you would bring up is because you mentioned it, which you've tried to keep your other life as a counselor off the show completely.
I'm just pulling from my experience.
But you're pulling from your experience. And I've viewed your experience where you have come up against an opposition. Mm-hmm. But you, like you just said, you're going to have opposition. At least it was put out. You did what you were elected to do. Yep. You saw it through. You were true to what your cause was. You stuck in there.
Exactly. And
I've seen this in color.
Exactly. Color. Well, and the other part too is when it comes down to it, I believe heavily, and I always will, that when it's a particular point, and every time you have the opportunity to put the decision in the hands of the people, I may be here to represent them, but I'm not them. And there's times when they can't be there, they can't be part of that decision, that they entrust me to make the best decision on their behalf of what they're looking for.
How do you know it's their behalf?
But that's what I say. It's feedback and things like that.
That's right.
You go out to you ask.
You do the legwork.
In my area, I have a much easier job of that because I have a local community I can go to. You know, if you're a national, a federal senator,
it's different
for the house, for the federal houses and stuff, not the state houses.
Yeah.
But obviously it's a lot harder. But there are still channels to get that information. But every time there's an opportunity to stick that into the people for them to vote on it or something, or to get their feedback through town halls and stuff, that should always be the option because you're not there for your own desires and what you want and your own
And when
agenda.
you walk out, it becomes what? Your own desire.
Exactly.
You lost the argument. So do your damn job is what you're trying to say?
Do your damn job.
What else do you know about this story?
Well, I do know that, like I said, they had, I think it was 30 Democrats didn't want to pass the new, they knew they were going to lose. They don't like the new voting changes that are coming in and some of those requirements that they're putting in there. And there's a whole bunch of those, and that's a different story altogether. But they didn't like it. So instead of actually showing up to do the vote when they should do on a special meeting, they've actually jumped on a private charter plane and flew to Washington.
Jumped on a private charter plane?
Yeah, and so what the governor says, he says, I will call a special session after special session all the way up until next year when the election comes through to make sure that it gets done. And says in the minute they return back to the state police are going to go out and collect them and bring them back to the
from their private plane. They're going to get off and go back to their office.
However they come back.
Right.
When they come back into the state, they will be collected and brought to the Senate until the special meeting's done, and they do their job.
The American way. If you don't like what's being done, you just establish a coup and walk out.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't know if it's American, but
Well, I mean, and they can say that's a walkout protest. It's the same thing kids do in school. It's
true.
Exactly. It's what kids are doing in school. They don't like something, so they just leave out and do it.
There's a story about that way back when, but I won't mention that right now. But yeah.
But yeah, show up. It's simple. Show up and do your job.
Show up and do your job.
You made a promise to the people, and that is to do your job. And your job, all those jobs, if all those Democratic, I think they're representatives in the House, if I think is what it is. If they're all there and they have a point and in unison of what they're trying to prove, then make your case and try to prove it and sway some people from the other side. But if you can't, then you probably don't have a solid point that sways somebody, and just accept the fact that you're going to lose. I have had put out many things myself that I did my best to sway the opinion of the other counselors, but I didn't sway the opinion and I lost. Okay, great. I moved on. I failed at my job in that area, so I'll move on and I'll go to the next thing. Maybe I'll bring it back up around. Try again. Work harder. That's the way it is. The people entrust me to do the job. People entrust them to do the job. They need to get it done.
Point taken. You make it sound so simple, though, because you said you failed at convincing them
I mean, if I succeeded, then whatever I was arguing would have passed, right?
Right.
So I didn't do my job getting it across, and so I just need to try again.
Does integrity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keep working. Don't just walk out.
Don't walk out.
I think that is a cowardice move.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's one thing you're not as a coward.
I fighting in Afghanistan and stuff like that is definitely a much more of a dangerous thing, but politics can be kind of crazy too. So yep, that's one of the big things that's been kind of going around the country right now, is that Texas thing, and people have called him dictator and this stuff. It was a law that was passed by a whole group of representatives. They made it a law, so obviously a bunch of people thought it was a good idea. So yeah.
Okay. Well, more on this story, hopefully developing.
Yep, we'll see what happens as they get coming back in. Maybe we'll talk about it next week see what happens.
Go back. You're saying, though, that there's an opposition calling who traitors?
Oh, there's people out there on both sides just saying, oh, that's a
dictatorship.
Yeah, to force people into something. But it's the same thing as the military. If you make a commitment and you swear to it and you don't show up, they're going to go drag you back. It's called being AWOL.
Court martial. Yeah.
They're going to drag you back to do your job. You swear an oath. You better uphold it.
I guess I have nothing to say about that because when you originally shared the story with me, I thought immediately about our governor, and I'm going, well, do we want to give her that much power? But
I do accept the fact that they can be.
Yeah, because remember, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander.
Oh yeah, both sides, but at the same time, it comes down to the core pieces that have the integrity to do your job that you're called to show up for.
Can't argue that.
And if you lose, do better to try to prove your point.
Yeah.
Same with our state.
Yeah.
We have more Democratic senators and representatives and voted in every year, and so it's a majority in our House and our Senate here in the state. Well, that means if the people in the state don't like it, then change it by voting more Republicans in. If the majority of the state is happy with it, then they're going to stick with it.
Right.
But but they're going to see the reaction to come with that: a burning city, riots, $6 billion? I think at one point with $6 billion in errors in accounting.
Yes.
And multiple errors that have been over years that they've never fixed.
Yes.
They've been notified every year. Massive debt, extended lockdowns, far beyond most of the other country. All these things are the choices they make by people they elect to put in place.
Yeah.
So they want difference, elect different people.
If you want difference, elect different people.
Yep.
And still have the faith in the election system.
Yep.
To do that, and I think people are losing hope there.
Like I said, if the election system
in the election process,
if the election system is what you believe is to be broken, there's laws that allow oversight and audits and stuff, and you can get your representatives to call on to do those audits, as well as they are accountable. There's public records law in those areas where any state in the country is required by law, both federal and state, to present those records, and sometimes within certain periods of time, so that you can do those audits and things. So if you can take it to court, you can take it to court and get federal or state orders that allow audits to do it. And a lot of them will allow the audits if you come with a good justification.
Right.
You can't just go, oh, I don't like the outcome, so therefore I must be wrong.
Yeah. Bring
a justification for an audit so you can get a court order to do it. But there's a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah.
So. I mean, it checks and balances. You just got to be willing to go through the work on it. Be willing to have the patience for it.
Well, you said patience right there.
That's the other thing too.
We want it, and we want it now.
Yeah, everybody wants it now, and they think
I want it, and I want it now.
They think by running out there and going crazy on things that they can get changed, but it takes time to change things. There is, especially in a big moving machine, and that's what the government is. It is a massive chunk of molasses in the middle of winter. It barely moves, and you have to.
Especially if you live in Alaska.
You have people that are elected for certain periods of time. You have routine election periods throughout the year. You have financial accountabilities, and you have records, and you have processes and laws. And it seems like, oh my goodness, it's a headache. And why do we have so much in a good case? In a big case, yeah, we have way too much, and we need to cut about half of that government chunk out of there, and all that extra fat off the bait. But that's a whole other discussion.
Right.
But the fact is, either way, it's government. It does move slow, and there's a lot of checks and balances and processes to go through.
Checks and balances.
Yeah, because if the faster you move something along, that means there's less resistance to it, which means there's less checks and accountability along the way. But the more accountability you have in there too, sometimes the slower it goes because they want to make sure they do things right.
Right.
So
stay the course. Stay the process.
No, I'm not going to say that my statement fits every single situation and that it's not 100% across the board, but that's the general consensus and the general process and why things happen the way they do.
Yeah. So. Okay. Well, you mentioned your work in service as a veteran, and you were deployed over in Afghanistan, right? Okay. Did you do one deployment, two deployments?
I did one deployment, but I extended while I was in theater, and I was there for about, I think I was actually in country, I want to say like 14 months, maybe 15 months.
In country 14, 15 months?
Yeah.
So you consider this your home, right?
What?
This country?
The United States? Yeah, of course.
Okay. That was
right here in Estacada.
Right here in Estacada. Well, I'm glad you brought it right to here to Estacada, and that's your home, because I want to talk about a little local news.
Local
You
news?
ready for some local news?
Local.
Let me go
You
with
say loco or local?
Local too. Very loco. And I'm not being culturally insensitive when I say that, but really some crazy news. So something that's on my mind, Jay. Jay man, you fought for our country, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And there is a series of patriotic people who celebrate America, and we love America. I have benefited from living in America as a Black American. I don't make any beans about I am a patriot. I love America. But more so, I love veterans because they did something that I can't do, which is to be deployed to fight for the freedoms that we have. I don't know. I'm going to be very careful here because I don't want to step on people's toes about flag waves.
Okay.
I love to wave my flag. As a matter of fact, this weekend when we are downtown on Saturday, celebrating and honoring men and women who are protecting us on a day-to-day basis, I'm going to be down there waving my flag.
I think we even ordered a bunch of flags to give out.
I thought I heard of.
I think we did. I have to check with that.
Yeah. So I'm going to be down there waving it loud and proud, and I have no problem with
Real quick.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. That's Saturday. It's at 1 p.m. down at the Hitch and Post Pizza.
Yes.
There's going to be an event honoring first responders. There'll be some award ceremony. There's free food, a bunch of games and stuff. I'll be down there. I'm going to get dunked in you get dumped. It's a dump tank. It dumps water on top of me.
You're going to get dunked?
I'm going to be on the dump tank.
Yes.
I'll also be in front of the pie wall too, so you can throw pies at me.
Shut your pie hole.
Pies. Yep.
Really?
I'll take pies, and I'll be taking the dump stuff. So
nice. A veteran getting what? We're going to dump you.
So yeah, if you have a score to settle, come on down.
If you have a score to settle, no, you're going to invite everybody's grandmother.
Yep.
But people love you. So, one of the things, flag waves. So, people, we have a segment in our community that loves to fly flags and to wave their flags, and they do it for whatever purposes they do it for. Everybody does not go out there and fly a flag. But sometimes when we get into our little subgroups, we tend to look at the ones that don't do the same thing as that subgroup does.
Yeah.
And we sometimes villainize those that don't do the same thing that this subgroup does.
Okay.
So I guess I'm setting this up a little bit to say, when I look at the American flag, I think about the red, white, and blue and the stars that we have on the wall, the stars and the stripes. And I want to give you a little bit of an idea of what the red stripes stand for. What do you think the red stripes stand for?
Let's see. I used to know this, but I always understood it as the blood of those who sacrificed for the country. So that's
very close.
I've heard that. So.
Yep. And the red stands for determination, facing great, and I love this, great damage, especially battle, heroic courage, and bravery.
So yeah.
Do any of those words describe you? Yes, they do.
Oh,
so,
I don't know. I don't like the.
I know.
My head's already. I already take the head out of the garage door. So.
But hey, give honor where honor is due. So when I look at the flag, I think of honor. Behind the flag, I think of the men and women who fought for my right. I wouldn't be married to my mixed wife if it weren't for people. My mixed wife. We wouldn't have a mixed marriage. We're not mixed. My wife's white. I'm black. But we would not have those freedoms if it weren't for our freedom fighters. That's people who've gone before us to fight for those rights to be free. Only in this country can I be as free as I am. So when I fly a flag or choose to wave a flag, I think of the men and women behind the flag. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think of trying to send a message to an opposition party or anything else like that.
Let's take a minute and kind of put this in perspective.
Okay.
Another first world country.
Yeah.
We'll go with China.
Okay.
Big country. Developed in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
You went over there and you put the flag on the ground, you stomp on it, you light it on fire. What do you think's going to happen to you?
It's literally probably death.
Huh? I believe that's it's definitely jail for sure, but I believe it was actually the penalty is death.
Yes.
Most countries, same thing. Only in a country like the United States do you have the protection
freedom of speech
to go on and to dishonor that flag that way.
Yeah.
So, and it's people don't realize the freedoms that they take for granted and that they want to get rid of so bad because they haven't had to live and experience that dictatorship. They haven't had to live in a true socialistic country. They haven't had to live in a place like China with communism, where if they don't like what you're saying, they'll come in and they'll just rip you out of your home and jail you without any cause.
Joel, I took
There's
a
nothing you can
missions
do about it.
real fast. Just hold that thought. I took a missions trip. I think it was before I went to before I started college, and the mission trip was to China. It wasn't quite open yet. I'm not going to say too much about what we did there because we could still be in trouble. But I remember the times where we were missionaries, so I'll just say that. I remember the times when we had to literally conceal ourselves. Living in a space where you did not have that freedom was very oppressive.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Very fearful.
That's the thing people don't really understand is are those actual the freedoms that are granted to them and that they get to enjoy so much.
Yeah.
They miss out on that tremendously.
Yeah.
But I will say it's despite their choice to not understand that. Myself and my friends and my brothers have fought and laid down our times and our lives or our own bodies and whatever it may take, and lost friends and everything else that have sacrificed so they have those rights in the Bill of Rights that they want to do away with so bad because they don't realize they don't get to keep the way of life that they so much enjoy and just kind of go, and they don't get to keep the best of everything.
Yeah.
With everything like the freedoms that we enjoy in the Bill of Rights, the freedom of speech, the freedom to gather, the freedom to right to bear arms, the freedom to not having the government come in and just take everything you own.
Absolutely.
All those things, all those freedoms, come at a price.
They do.
And you have to protect those freedoms.
Yeah. Sometimes we're not free. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you know what that price is? Besides the men that laid on their lives to keep it that way?
What is the price?
You have to work hard for what you got. It's not just handed to you.
So going back to your first point, really, with the other story is
show up and do the damn job.
Show up and do the damn job.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because eventually, if everybody gets handed something for free, that runs out.
Right.
If everybody doesn't have a desire to work because they're not going to get any farther in life, if I worked 80 hours a week, but I make the same as someone who doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
Why the hell would I work 80 hours a week? I'll just sit back and collect the check. Right. Oh, that check doesn't mean much after a little while because there's no one putting that money in.
Right.
So the thing is, it's great. It sounds all great and everything else in theory, but in reality, history has shown us over and over and over again that in that type of environment, it creates a heavy class system where there's a very small piece up top, and everybody else is impoverished.
Right.
And if you try to break out of that class, or you try to escape that, they either kill you, they jail you, or they make you suffer in some way because they got to keep you in that lower class because they benefit from all your hard work.
Right.
Look at all the actual places like Venezuela,
right?
China,
right?
Russia was for a while. I think they're still kind of in that mixed area there.
Yeah.
And there's just tons of other ones you can go through and look at. These I think Cuba's a good example right now. Look what they're going through.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess my point is, and you help express that, is to recognize the flag for me is to recognize that I don't live in some of these places where my brothers and sisters have to endure every day. Mm-hmm. Someone paid that price so that I can do that. So when I participate in a flag wave or participate in holding a flag, I hold it out of a space of humility, not a pride. I'm proud of my country. I'm proud to be an American, but I don't hold it with pride as if I had done what you had done. Well, because I'm reaping the benefit of what you have done.
And that's the thing is I think those...
Which brings me to another point, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, and I think it's important to understand is those who have been there and fought that fight, and they have honor and pride in their country, but they don't need to go stand on the street corner to wave that. They do it by serving. They do it by just honoring the people around them, enjoying the freedoms that they fought for, being there for people. And there's nothing wrong with going out there and waving the flag and stuff.
Be proud.
By all means. completely your right, and that's your choice. But also understand and respect the freedoms of others who who either choose not to do it for whatever reason they may have.
You bring up another point, though. Most military or veterans, I'm like telling you, but most military or veterans don't necessarily want to be recognized for their time in service.
Yeah, we did our job. We served our country, and in a lot of cases, many of them are still serving in one way or the other, doing something else, whether that be in a local community area, in their church, sometimes just in their own families, trying to make sure that their stuff's taken care of. There's always other ways. I mean, there's a lot of veterans join organizations like the VFW and those type of things, and the VFW has lots of service to their country. They give scholarships, they do cleanups, they help people. There's all sorts of different ways that people like that. It's because someone who's joined the service, and this obviously isn't true for every single soldier out there. I mean, there's always different people, but the majority of people who serve, who go in, see what it's about, continue to re-enlist, continue to serve. It's a piece about them, and the core thing is, I said the word multiple times. It's service. It's a service. They understand what it takes to be that person, whether it's the service and the way of being in the military, the service in law enforcement, service in firefighting, service and simply going out and serving in a local small group to clean up your streets. Doing the road cleanup group. It could be a million different things. It could be in a church, simply serving by ushering. It's a heart of service, and they feel the need to be drawn to that. And so by having that, they don't, when you have that core sense about you, you don't need to be out there, getting the credit for it and everything else. And it's like when people say, "Hey, thanks for your service," most people don't know what to say. I mean, when people said to me, and I'm
never
just like,
forget,
thanks.
thank you for your service. You don't know what to say with that.
Yeah, because it's not what I did, and that's not why most veterans I talked to have done it.
Yeah,
it's because we just answered a call.
Well, I got to say, just personally, that's why I actually became your friend as well, because I've always had servicemen and women in our lives, and the first thing we recognize is the loyalty and service, and the ones that do it behind the scenes. So I guess that kind of sums up where I'm at. When a serviceman or woman gets banned from a group because they're considered not a patriot, that really rubs me the wrong way, because we should be fleeing. The door's open for a person like that. How would you love to see America interact with each other? Well, what did you really fight for?
Oh, that's a big question, and I'm going to be happy to answer that as soon as we get back from our break.
Okay.
And because my butt's going numb.
All right. Well, I'm going to remember that. So awesome.
We have a few messages from our sponsors. Don't forget, we do have merchandise on our website. You can buy things like this. We're always putting new things up there. Hats and shirts and everything else to help support our
I
show.
said last week, Bosom Brothers. I'm going to have to change that. Sorry, guys. It's not Bosom Brothers. That's kind of weird. It's Boss Brothers.
Backwoods Brothers.
Backwoods
Brothers.
Backwoods Brothers. Okay, Backwoods Brothers. We'll go with that one. Anyways.
Well, let's go to break, and when we get back, I want to answer your question. So keep that on the hot sheet, and talk to you a little bit about.
Did you say hot sheet?
Hot sheet.
Hot seat. He doesn't want to bring up his butt again. Okay. Should we go to break?
We're going to break.
We'll be back.
See you back in a minute.
Far beyond the reaches of the city lights, in the edge of the concrete jungle, where kith and kin meets rum and gin, There, a fairer type of life can thrive. Many men may search their entire lives, never to find one. But here, in their natural habitat, exists the home of the Backwoods Wives.
Joel with Backwoods Brothers here, and welcome to the Backwoods Minute. Learn as if you will live forever, live like you'll die tomorrow. That was spoken by a great man, Mahatma Gandhi. Every day, everything you do, every moment is an opportunity to learn, to better yourself, to grow. And you should be doing it like there is forever, like you will constantly always be here, that the knowledge is going to go on with you forever and never end. So you always want to gain as much knowledge as you can now so it benefits you in the future. But on the flip side, it says live like you'll die tomorrow. That means don't put off the things that are important to you till a later time. Do them today. Take your opportunity to tell that person that you love them. Go out and change your world today. Change somebody else's world by simply just being there for them, giving them a positive word. No one knows if you're going to be here tomorrow, but today is here. Change your world. You have the power. For more of the Backwoods Minutes, check us out on backwoodsbrothers.com, and we'll see you there. Joel with Backwoods Brothers here, and welcome to the Backwoods Minute.
Hey, they can play another Backwoods Minute.
Just push the... Learn as if you will live forever, live like you'll die tomorrow. That was spoken by a great man, Mahatma Gandhi. Every day, everything you do, every moment is an opportunity to learn, to better...
It's on you.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey!
I'm so sorry.
Welcome to our Backwoods Brothers 1 hour show weekly where anything can happen. Joel, I want to start that question I left off with. Just to give it some context, we literally you're laughing and I can't focus. Okay, I'm trying to focus.
Sorry.
So, no, we talked about your service, and I talked about how I view the flag. And I view the flag as if it were see-through to the battles, see-through to what men and women have sacrificed their life for voluntarily, done that. And so when I talk about service, and I've heard this from many men and women in the armed forces, that all they are born and bred to do is to serve. I went back and I was going to ask you, what did you fight for when you viewed your time in service? And what were you hoping for America to look like? What were you hoping, actually, here's another question. What were you hoping people would do to honor the country?
There wasn't really a thought there what people would do to honor or anything else. It was, I knew there was a need and I felt compelled to step up and fill that need. It's that simple.
That's what I hear you always saying.
It's not, there's not some big grandiose, plan or something I'm like, oh man, I want to see this, and this is what I picture, and everything else. It really is.
But Joel, I've heard veterans say this. Some veterans say, "This is not the country I fought for."
Yeah, I mean,
What does that mean?
I would say, if in that terms, I mean, yeah, we still honor our Constitution. We still honor, you know, what
Honor.
what the foundation of the country is. That still means something to us. And yeah, we fight for that, but that's not like, our core drive of like, we wear that Constitution, we carry it on. No, it's we understand it, we know it, it's there, and it's a core what we do, just like the flag is there. Just like,
Do we honor our past?
do we honor our past? I
Yeah.
mean,
What is that?
past has there's when you look at past, that's a really another big conversation.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw that out right there.
No, and the past has both good and bad to it, but you got to remember the bad as well as the good. You can't just ignore the bad.
Yes.
Like, for example, tearing down a statue.
If we don't learn from the past, we're bound to what?
Repeat it.
Repeat it. Good.
Exactly. So, changing history books, and because it might be offensive, or taking something out and not teaching it because it was a bad thing that happened.
Yeah. You mentioned statues just this week. 2 came down.
Yeah, well, it's
Did you read about
statues.
that?
Yeah, I've read about that. It's been happening constantly, but
Yeah.
and people say, well, if you give them a statue, you're honoring the person. No, a statue is not always about honor. A statue is about remembrance.
Mm.
And if you tear down the statues, I mean, that's exactly what Hitler did. He tore down all the statues of remembrance of what the freedom and stuff was in Germany and things in a different way. The Gorbachev did the same thing for Russia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of a dictatorship. You tear down the things that remind people of an alternative way, an alternative life.
Well, we go back to something like 9/11. I remember 9/11. I want to remember 9/11. I don't want to ever forget 9/11.
Exactly.
So I expect that something will be at ground zero that will remind me of what happened
Well,
there.
here's the thing: is if they taught about the if they taught today about about what happened with Hitler, and about that whole period of time, World War II, World War One. They taught about all the struggles that you've had through the period of independence and through our Civil War, and we truly understood that. We understood the sacrifice on both sides, the good, the bad. We understood how slavery really came into the country and understood the pieces of that and how it played and what it didn't. Slavery is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Slavery is not just an American thing.
No.
Slavery is all over the world.
Yes.
Slavery is all colors.
Yes.
It's not just for African Americans or black people.
Yeah.
It happens. Slavery happens down in Mexico today, even.
Mm-hmm.
Slavery actually happens currently today.
Trafficking is slavery.
Yep, the sex trade,
Mm-hmm.
slavery. Slavery happens. It sucks. It's horrible. It's a bad thing. We need if we see it, we need to stop it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But altering history, or just not talking about it, or forgetting it, or taking pieces down to remind us of what happened there, is the best way for us to go back into it. If you don't know the steps that were taken that led you down a road, then you're going to walk down that road again until you either run into something that reminds you, goes, oh, this is a bad road, or you run through the same thing again and you go, hey, we should put something up to remind us about this.
Exactly. I have people who come to my office and they wear a ring or something that reminds them of where they don't want to go, of their worst time. Those remembering stones, it's a biblical thing too.
Yep.
Remembering stones actually help us to learn from that.
Think about it this way. Do you blindly, if you want to drive from here to, I don't know, Las Vegas,
Uh-huh.
would you
told me to.
would you look at a map?
Well, first of all, I won't be driving.
Well, theoretically.
Yeah, that's the only way we can go off of that is theoretically.
Well,
It's the only way we
theoretically.
can- Theoretically, I would look at a map.
Yeah, or someone would, if one of
Yeah.
our viewers were
Yeah.
driving.
I just want to throw you off.
Yeah, well, I'm saying theoretically,
Right.
if you're traveling somewhere, do you look at a map?
I hope so, yeah. Or GPS it.
Well,
But now that we have
I'm
that.
saying,
But yeah,
and,
map,
and,
yeah.
and when you're driving there,
Uh-huh.
and or someone's driving you there,
Yeah.
and you're following that map, so you got the direction,
Uh-huh.
and you're out there and you see what do you see those things on the road that give you direction? What are they called?
Mile markers
or
a sign.
Sign. There you go.
Yeah.
Street signs, signs, things that are telling us this is the way to go to get to where we want to be, right?
Right.
So, and they basically, if we just tear that sign down, would you always know where to turn?
No.
Exactly. So that's the whole point. Statues, monuments, things in history books, lessons we learn. Those are things that we use to teach us where we're going, not in the past. If you always look to the past, then you're going to be stuck in the past. But they're like signs along the way to keep us moving forward, to move us in the right direction.
And I know we deviated a little bit from the topic, but it's still along the same lines. I wanted to also say I went to visit the Arizona.
We always deviate from the topic.
I know we talk. This is the way we talk. But I went to go visit the Arizona. So I think like 5 years ago, my wife and I went to Hawaii.
So you went to visit the Arizona?
The Arizona.
You just kept calling it the Arizona.
The Arizona.
Like
in Hawaii, the Arizona.
You're talking about a battleship.
A battleship. Okay, we went to go. Yes, we went to Hawaii to visit the Arizona, which was a battleship.
That makes more sense.
So since yes, and I want to tell you, one of the things that really caught my eye was the fact that out of the Arizona, the battleship that we got to, there's still oil leaking from that ship, and it was almost eerie to see that. I don't know what it's doing for the environment. I don't know what it's doing, whatever. But I'm glad people are not looking at the environment, because if it did affect the environment, they took it away. I would never have actually sensed being there where this great surprise on America,
with thousands and thousands of people lost their lives.
Yes. So I was able to see that and just experience what was actually there. So when I look at the flag, I see the Arizona. When I look at the flag, I see military men and women. I can hear the battle in the background. So when I hold that flag, I even had one. My other friend was in Afghanistan, and I bought a flag, put it on the front of my house, and I actually took a snapshot of that and sent it to him. Mm-hmm. And I kept it there until he came home. So when I look at the flag, I fly it with the intentions of giving honor.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I mean, the big thing too about the flag, and to understand, is everything on that flag, it actually has a history of how it was created. And we don't have the time to go through that in-depth history, but there's plenty of videos out there you can see and watch the history of the flag and how it went from being a simple, a few stars on there and representing the 13 colonies up to what it is today.
Yeah.
It has meaning and representation and purpose behind it, and it's a foundation piece. And that's just a flag as much as we have any other historical marker, any other monument, any other statue.
Yeah.
It's all a piece that tells us how we got to where we were and reminds us of the choices that we had to make to get there and how we can move forward. But like I said, people tend to strip those pieces of history away, including to the point they want to try to strip the flag away.
Yeah.
Forgetting not only how we got there, but taking away all the guidance we need to go forward.
Absolutely. We need to remember, we need our flag. We need to honor our flag. We need to honor the people behind our flag. Mm-hmm. As my mom used to say, don't forget where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
I rest my case.
Do you know why she told you not to get where you came from? So you understand where you're going in life.
That's a Backwoods Minute, I think, coming up. You never know.
The Backwoods Minutes, yes. Those have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, they have.
Keep an eye out for them. You guys see one here on our commercial.
Yeah. Didn't they see it last commercial?
Yep, we put one out there. I think it was actually mine that he put out there, but we'll start showing a few of them.
Before you go to your next story, I was thinking, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, please. Don't forget, please share, like, and subscribe. Don't forget to check out our merch on our website. And furthermore, don't forget to look at our Backwoods Minutes. They're inspirational. And actually, I saw the ladies, our Backwoods wives, give some last night.
I don't want to spoil.
No, but they are tearjerkers. That's all I was going to say.
The one coming up, it's released on the 18th at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
For all those local, it'll have a little bit of touch for you. So.
Yeah, you said local again.
Loco.
That is hogwash bullshit. That's all I have to say. You got to watch the other episode to find out where I got that from. I think I made it up.
Yep.
So, no, what's your next story?
We have lots of different things we can talk about. So one of the big things I've been hearing, I listened to a lot of radio. And
you listen to the radio still?
Yeah, I listen to radio. I like talk radio.
I'm not an ageist, but that's pretty ageist.
Hey, talk radio is great. Lars Larson is who I like to listen to because
Lars.
you hear
Gotta love Lars.
And one of the things he's been spouting off about lately, it's kind of funny, but it's also a very good piece there. And I'm not an expert on this area like he is. He's got a lot of great information, but he's had some good points, and so I wanted to bring it up and kind of see what you thought.
Okay.
Especially because we had a big fire here last year.
Oh, you're talking about this? Great.
The big plane, the 747 that I believe he said can carry 20,000 gallons of water or fire retardant. It can be filled in 30 minutes and can be anywhere in the U.S.
You didn't know I was a plane guy,
about
right?
5 years. Yep.
Love it.
It can be anywhere in the U.S. in about 5 hours. So, and you'd really only need a couple of them in the entire continent, really, to serve the entire continent.
Really?
Yeah, but they had this plane for a long time. It only got used. Amazingly, got used in other countries, and our own country barely ever used it. We'd burn millions of acres. We wouldn't use the 747. They could drop tons. Like for example, if the fire had started burning, like it got a quarter mile outside of our city, but if that was only the spot fire, they got pretty big. If the full fire had been here, you better dang well bet I'm going to want something from like a 747 flying down and dropping 20,000 gallons of water.
Dump that shit, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, granted, there are restrictions based
Yeah.
upon some of the you can't fly it in some areas because it's just too mountainous or whatever. There's different pieces about that.
I didn't know that.
But
I didn't know terrain.
the next closest one they have, it's 8,000 gallons, and that one costs more to run than it does for the 747.
Right.
So it costs more to run the 1,500 gallon buckets
Than the 747.
or the 1,800 gallon planes. I think it was 1,500 gallon planes, and then I think it was like a 900 gallon bucket for the helicopters. It costs more to run those because they have to take a lot more trips, it's a lot more fuel, time, and everything else, and they're less effective. You drop 20,000 gallons of water or fire retardant in an area, it can drop it hundreds of meters wide, and it could drop up to a mile. Can you imagine having an instant fire line of 100 meters wide and a mile long, or 100 yards? 100 yards long.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, that would have made some serious changes. But
why didn't they,
our own governor and many others in the area chose not to contract with them? They're like, oh, that's a big expense to do, and that to have on there and stuff. As many fires as we have.
But you just debunked that.
Yeah, like I said, then that's based upon the information that I know. Cause I haven't looked at the numbers myself.
Okay.
I'm going off the information that Lars Larson has shared.
Okay.
And usually he's pretty good about producing that, does facts and things like
factual.
that. Yeah. So I'm going to go off. I'm going to go off of his numbers because I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's vetted that information.
Yeah. And if it's actually something different, then he can come on our show and change it. So that'd be great. Okay.
Yeah, Lars,
We're
inviting
you.
If you ever hear this, you have an invite.
Yes, you do.
But
the one-eyed guy and the guy with the beard said it. Okay.
One-eyed guy and the guy with a beard. It's like a bunch of bad pirates.
It sounds like a bad movie.
There you go.
Bad band. Okay.
One-eyed bearded guy.
But why? Why did she? What was her reasoning?
The reasoning comes down
as
to
if she actually
they say it costs too much money to maintain.
The
contracts are too high for it. I mean, they spend far more money doing it the other way than they do with a plane.
Yeah.
And I believe, can be far more effective. I've heard lots of people that are in that field that agree with it. But here's the thing: is because they didn't contract with it, and there wasn't enough contracting in the areas that have wildfires, which it's generally on the West Coast is the biggest area for that. Some of the northern areas like Montana and stuff, and then I think there's a bunch of East Coast areas. There wasn't enough contracting with it that they not only did they said, okay, we've put 20 years of this, and we're not getting people to get on board with this. Why? It's effective. It's been proven effective, and it's been good. Other countries use us, but it hasn't been enough. So they just recently dismantled the plane, and it's no longer an option. So if we need it, we don't have it.
We don't have it.
Yep.
Now, is this for California too?
Anyone in the U.S. We no longer have one. We no longer have the 747 20,000 gallon ability to drop it because and we probably never will again, because they did not respect the resource when they had it and didn't put the investment into it. And I mean, in our country, in our, at least I'm going to say our state, and it's not just our state, it's other states too.
Yeah.
But our state has been a long history of bad choices for people to sit inside of that in the representation.
Huh.
You know, it's their history of bad choices. They can't manage their money, they can't manage their crime, they can't manage their people. They can barely manage themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't get how some people get elected into office. I mean, and why people keep electing them.
Yeah.
I think maybe next time is everybody should just abstain for one round and just have nobody in there. We'll run the country, but run the.
Well, we basically have that right now.
I think maybe we just fire everybody inside of the up there in the Oregon Senate and Republic.
Yeah.
Let's let it go for 4 years without anyone in there. I bet you it'll run better.
I thought that's happening. though. I just like.
Well, they're doing the opposite. They're making bad choices. You know what's even funnier?
Yeah.
They just asked our governor to be part of like some security council.
You're actually stealing mine. Because I'm right here. You want to know about that?
I used the vision behind it. Go on.
You use my X-ray vision.
So
our Governor Kate Brown, and bless her heart. In Texas, that means something else. It says Governor Kate Brown is one of the 9 governors, guys, that President Biden appointed last Thursday, that is, to serve a 2-year term in his Council of Governors. And it says the bipartisan council, which is basically 9 governors, but they're going to be 3 Republican, 3 Democrat, intended to serve as the lead to form and strengthen partnerships between the federal and state governments to better protect the nation from security threats. Are you kidding me?
You can't even manage a big city in her state.
Are you kidding me?
Her city's literally on fire.
Wait a minute.
And crime is up over 1,000% in the city. She can't manage it.
But she's on our security council. But it makes sense. You know why it makes sense? Because, well, I might get in trouble for this, but Biden appointed her. I mean, it makes sense. It does.
Well, you know what it is? It's his dementia kicked in. He's forgetting everything that's happened over the last.
I wouldn't give dementia that credit. But
I wouldn't give dementia that credit.
It says, here's more. The council focuses on matters of homeland security, homeland defense, civil support, and synchronization and integration of state and federal military activities in the United States.
I think it would be...
And other... you got to hear the rest of this. Oh. And other matters of mutual interest, including those involved in the National Guard. It was first established by President Barack Obama in 2010 by the executive order. Now, it says, in the statement Thursday, Brown thanked Biden for the appointment and said, and I quote, a strong state federal partnerships are critical for our preparedness and response efforts. And she continues to quote, I look forward to continuing to work with my fellow governors to bring forward issues of mutual concern to ensure that we are working together in a bipartisan way in the interest of national security.
You know, I would love to see what she has to say to the other governors about. I'd love to be one of the governors to ask her. So, let me hear your great wisdomous insights on rioting and gun laws.
Crickets.
Exactly.
Crickets. That's like what was happening.
Yeah, here. Exactly. And it's like, oh man.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it goes right in line with some of the other bad choices he's made. Like when the first day he signed all those executive orders after, by the way, criticizing Trump for years about over abusing his powers in executive orders and sort of running things through the Senate and the House and running things through the proper chains, that he just pencil whipped everything.
Yeah.
And he made a historical move about the amount of things that he signed in one day. By the way, which
several I think was a PR.
Well, I'm saying several of those which were deemed, by the way, to be unconstitutional and have been since overturned by, or at least called into question by the Supreme Court, like the banning of leases on federal lands, which they recently put a stop to his ban on there, and they've been able to resume those releases because it wasn't done properly. He's got to run through the proper channels, which when he does, it ain't gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yes, I'm saying is there's a it's funny how the hypocrisy that comes out of there. They will openly accuse it, but then you get the mainstream media that won't say a damn thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the hypocrisy. I think if we have a new logo or not logo, new slogan for our country, it's be it used to be land of the free.
Yeah.
Now it's land of the hypocrisy.
Land of the hypocrisy. Well, if Kate Brown will actually have anything to do with it, it's the land of the tent cities.
10 cities.
And nothing against them. I mean, there are seriously people who are displaced and out there, but it's like, you can't keep your own house clean, so let's put you in charge of the country. You can't take care of your own state, but let's go ahead and put you in and make sure that things are secure here. Let's give you the keys to mess everything
It went
up.
so far as to, and now granted, there is city council and there is a mayor in charge of Portland.
True.
But
True.
she has the ability to hold them accountable to stuff as well.
True.
So, but it went as far as to where the entire riot squad in Portland
Up and left.
quit. One day, boom, said,
Yep. 50, weren't they?
60.
60.
60 of them quit one day. Boom, gone. There's no riot squad in Portland. There's no gun violence teams in Portland. And I heard something about how they were trying to take guns away from the law enforcement officers. Couldn't find anything on that, so that might have just been a
Are they taking a playbook out of Britain, I think?
I don't know what they're doing, but it's not a bad choice still together.
Okay. Page out of the playbook of Britain, I think there, yeah.
Yeah, specifically.
But what's the reasoning behind that?
To take the guns away?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know, but what do you...
They want to see officers get killed. I mean, if that's an actual true thing, I haven't seen much on it though.
Yeah.
I really find much.
What we do know is
So
that
I don't know if
60,
that's true.
60 officers.
Yeah, that's
walked off
true.
the
Yeah,
job.
they quit because one officer is doing his job. I read the reports on it, and I actually read the actual report, like the
Yeah, what was
crime
actually
report.
behind it? I believe...
So basically, there's different things. You have strikes, you have jabs, and you have pushes with the baton.
Okay.
And
Strikes,
there
jabs.
was a lady that was being somewhat aggressive and not complying, and so there was some pushes made. And in one of the pushes, there was a little bit too, like she slipped and bumped her in the head with it. She sued the city. They probably could have won it, but instead they did what they normally do. They just settled. And so she got $50,000. And then they came back around, instead of letting it go moving forward, realizing mistakes happen, no one's perfect, they decided to charge him with a crime. And so when that happened and they decided to proceed forward with that crime, that charge, the entire riot squad said, okay, fine, we quit. We're done. We're just going to go back to your regular officers. Good luck.
Yeah.
So
yeah. In other words, if I'm going to go
next time there's a riot out there,
yeah,
I don't think there's going to be officers out there to stop them.
So if I'm doing my job, I'm going to go out. I'm not perfect, but if I go out and I get my eyes gouged out and I get hurt, as long as I get to be the silent victim, I'm okay.
Yep. Also on top of that, also on top of that, she's pushing out federal and the marshals and things like that. She's pushing them out, so greatly reducing law enforcement in the area in a place where there needs to be larger presence of law enforcement to the point to bring order. We're supposed to be a society of law and order.
Yeah.
And right now we're a society of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
At least in some areas.
In some areas. Yeah.
And it's based upon the hierarchy of leadership, from the Portland City Council all the way up. So,
we going back to the fires, just really so, and I know you were going to actually touch on that last week.
And we're going to want to make sure we round this down because we're coming to the end of our time here.
Okay, so I'm still curious as to the rationale of cutting out an option that would reduce our fire risk in the land lost. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but my brain goes to this: what is the reasoning for defunding a service, for pulling back people that could keep our city safe, for pulling back options for
I, you know what, I can't give you a good answer for that because there's no real good answer.
Pulling back options to save
exactly
livestock,
exactly.
other, we're in a drought.
Well, no, I thought you meant talk about when they're pulling the Saints in Portland. But
That too. I was complaining. Why do we pull away all of our safety constraint or safety nets?
We didn't pull our safety nets. We talk about when during the fires when they pulled back the law enforcement back.
I'm sorry,
the firefighters. Back.
No. I'm talking about the planes. Going back to the 747.
Oh, why they pulled back?
Yeah,
they just chose not. They chose not to go with the service, is what it was, and then the service took it, dismantled it. So it was a private company. They just chose not to pay for it, and eventually they just decided it wasn't getting the service, so they dismantled it. That's a simple.
So in other words, I don't need to look under a rock to find a demon there, as to why they're really holding things back. But
yeah, I don't think it's. I think it's just the fact that they made that choices, and then eventually the company said, "Well, we're not getting the service out of it."
So conflating.
It's not worth holding on to it anymore. So
I'll say so. Going back to Kate,
it's just bad choices. But yeah. So I did want to say something that you brought something around is there was a lot of kickback from when there's the local city council, and all those cities made the choice not to allow fireworks. We got the numbers back in the recent council meeting.
I heard
there was
80%
reduction in fires that day.
Can you give a little bit more context for our viewers? You were there at the meeting, but there was a ban on fireworks.
The previous meeting, not last Monday, but a little over 2 weeks ago.
4th of July,
yeah. Not even 2 weeks. It was just a few days before 4th of July, yeah. There was a special meeting called, and the subject was should we ban fireworks and that kind of discussion. And there was a decision to ban them in the city. It was already banned in the unincorporated area by the county.
Yeah.
But they also chose to ban it in the city.
Right.
So the Estacada Fire Department came back and gave a report to the city about the effectiveness of that. And there was 80% reduction in fires from the city and from the county, and other counties and other cities reported roughly the same numbers, about 80% reduction. Because most people stopped doing it, and the little fires that may get called and seen and stuff were not there anymore. So it was effective, and so
because we're a show of a little bit of opposition,
mm-hmm.
The argument from some was there was no need to ban fireworks because the fires didn't happen around this time, and it was in August. So what's the correlation between July 4th and the fires that happened in August?
It was the hottest week in our record right before it. So, and it's the driest period we've ever had in Oregon. So, in record.
Okay, and there you go. And there's a segment that considered their rights again after COVID, not being able to use their fireworks. There was a segment that necessarily didn't like.
I'm gonna close with this one too because I want to say it very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Just because one thing says no, like, hey, you can't have fireworks for this short period of time, doesn't mean that we were saying no to celebrating 4th of July and all the other things that come with that, all the other freedoms. We just said, hey, this isn't safe right now because the evidence was there to show why.
But Joel, you know this. There's no Christmas unless there's a Christmas tree.
That's not
Darn
true.
it.
That's
damn it.
True.
I can say that.
That's not true.
Okay, but that's what people are looking at. Fireworks are for the 4th of July,
But fireworks are also for New Year's and everything else too.
I'm with you on that.
But like I said, it's when it comes down to it, saying no to one thing to save people's lives and save potential disaster.
As the numbers prove.
Yeah, and if there wasn't evidence behind it,
mm-hmm.
then by all means, get on us. But there's evidence behind it.
Yep.
There's evidence behind it.
The proof is in the pudding. My mom used
it's
to
not
say.
It's not like the lockdowns with the lack of evidence
to
show the effectiveness of it. There was actual evidence behind what was there.
Can you say that one more time?
And I'll say it again. It's not like the lockdowns where there was lack of evidence and refusal to show it. The numbers were there. They were open for people to see, and there was evidence to why we did it. And it was a consensus.
Yeah.
Not only by our city, but also other counties and cities as well.
Right.
That was the most effective way to stop fires.
I saw on Facebook a local lady who said, "You know what? I'm not going to do fireworks this 4th of July, but I will definitely do them for New Year's." And she even went so forward to even say, and we had her on our show. This was a lady that was on our show before, but she went so far as to say, "Go down and support the local." Fireworks stand
go buy them.
Because they were doing a fundraiser for a youth event. So Go down and buy them, but wait, deferred gratification, and that's what humanity needs to grasp.
Deferred gratification. Don't play all your chips now. Wait till later.
Wait till later. But what do we?
Well, speaking of wait till later.
Oh.
I think the rest of this conversation have to wait till next week.
Dang it, because I was getting ready to get on weight, but never mind. I guess I have to wait. Delayed gratification, folks.
Yeah. Sorry about that, but we have some great stuff to talk about next week, right?
That's for sure.
And you know what? We're not going to share what those are because we talk about hot topics.
Hot topics.
And what we want to talk about next week, it actually may change because there might be some important stuff that comes up.
Yeah.
And the only way to really get onto that is to check in 7 p.m. on Wednesdays, right?
Yep. Well, I was going to also say this too. This is a model of having conversations. You guys are all talking about these things, and the cool thing is talk about them, and state your opinions, but have a conversation, you know. And I'm not going to say the rest of that because that's Joel's job. But yeah, I think we're going to have a lot more to talk about as these weeks progress because news keeps happening.
Oh, exactly. And you know what's even also amazing too is we can get comments on all these areas.
Yeah.
People can reach out to us and say, hey, why don't you guys think about talking about this one, and we might actually consider it. So
bring us out, bro.
Yep, exactly. So, well, hey guys, like, share, subscribe. Check out our website for some merchandise. Check out all our sponsors like Hitch and Post and Whitney Signs.
Yes.
And, also the Stillwater's Counseling, and go check out all those things. And yeah, definitely. And we would love to see you here joining us live next week at 7 p.m. for our live show with Tony and I. And check out our Backwoods Minute to come out next one on the 18th.
Yeah.
And get a little positivity in your day. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.